the soft hum of a distant city at dusk, the kind of evening where the Texas sky stretches wide and the faint strum of live music from downtown Austin drifts on the warm breeze like an old friend's whisper. Imagine a man named Jack, standing alone in his kitchen, the one he'd poured his heart and savings into for his family, his hands gripping a simple list of ingredients for a birthday dinner. Steaks, corn, a few cold beers. Nothing fancy, just enough to share with a couple of lifelong buddies who'd stuck by him through thick and thin. The sunlight slants through the windows, casting long shadows across the countertops, cluttered with half-empty coffee mugs from mornings where conversations had long since dried up. Jack's daughter, Mia, glances up from her phone, her eyes cold as the winter wind that sometimes sneaks down from the hills. And she snaps, "We can't keep carrying you like this. Dad, Ethan and I have lives. Jobs, we're not your servants." Her words land like a punch to the gut, heavy and unexpected, making Jack's chest tighten as he stands there, 70 years old, feeling the weight of every sacrifice he'd made pressed down on him harder than ever. Ethan lounges in the doorway, arms crossed, his smirk twisting like a knife. "Yeah, figure it out yourself. Old man, we're not running a charity here." The air in the room thickens, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound breaking the silence. And Jack swallows hard, his fingers crumpling the list as memories flood in uninvited. The day he signed over the house deed to them after his wife's passing, thinking it would bind them closer. The tuition checks he'd written without a second thought. The wedding he'd funded down to the last floral arrangement. All given with love, no strings attached. But now, on his birthday, asking for a hand with dinner feels like begging, and their laughter echoes in his ears as he turns away, forcing a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "Fine, I'll handle it." He steps out onto the patio, the grill waiting like an old companion, its metal surface gleaming under the fading light. And he lights it up with a flick of the match, the flames dancing blue and orange, mirroring the fire starting to kindle deep inside him. Not rage yet, but something quieter, more determined. As the steaks sizzle and the aroma of smoke fills the air, his friends arrive, knocking softly on the door, their faces lighting up with genuine warmth. "Happy birthday, Jack," they say, clapping him on the back, handing over a bottle of whiskey they'd saved for special occasions like this. They gather around the grill, laughter bubbling up easy and free, reminiscing about old times, fishing trips on the lake, barbecues that stretched into the night under starlit skies. But inside the house, Mia and Ethan stay hidden upstairs, their voices muffled through the walls, complaining about the noise, the intrusion, as if Jack's life was an inconvenience in the home he'd built for them. The evening wears on, the food tasting like ash in Jack's mouth despite the compliments. And as his friends pack up to leave, waving from the driveway, the porch light casting their shadows long across the lawn, Jack stands there watching their taillights fade into the Austin night, the music from downtown growing fainter, replaced by the chirp of crickets and the distant rumble of traffic. Back inside, the house feels colder, the dishes stacked in the sink like remnants of a failed truce. And Mia confronts him in the living room, her arms folded tight. "What were you thinking? Inviting those fossils over without asking us? This is our space now, Dad. You don't get to decide." Ethan's voice joins in, sharp and unyielding. "Yeah, if you can't respect that, maybe it's time you found somewhere else to crash." The words hang in the air like smoke from the dying grill, and Jack feels something snap inside, not loudly, but irrevocably, his hands steady as he nods. "All right then, I'll go." He climbs the stairs to the guest room that's been his for years, the one with the faded wallpaper and the bed that creaks under his weight. And he pulls out an old suitcase from the closet, the leather worn smooth from decades of travel, business trips that built the fortune he'd shared so freely, clothes folded neatly, a photo of his late wife tucked carefully between shirts, her smile a reminder of better days when family meant everything. Downstairs, Mia and Ethan pretend to watch TV, their eyes glued to the screen as he wheels the suitcase across the hardwood floor, the sound echoing like a final verdict. He places his house key on the coffee table with a soft click, the metal glinting under the lamp's glow. And without a word, he steps out into the night, the door closing behind him with a gentle thud, sealing away the life he'd known. The street stretches dark and quiet, lined with oak trees whispering in the breeze, and Jack walks, the suitcase rumbling over cracks in the sidewalk, each jolt traveling up his arm like a pulse of newfound resolve. The city lights twinkle in the distance, Austin's vibrant heartbeat calling to him. And for the first time in years, the uncertainty tastes like possibility, not fear. He checks into a small motel on the edge of town, the neon sign buzzing softly overhead, vacancy glowing red against the black sky, and the clerk hands him a key with a tired smile. Room 8, quiet spot in the back. Inside, the room smells of fresh linen and faint pine cleaner. A single bed with a floral comforter. A desk lamp casting warm light over the worn carpet. Jack unpacks methodically, hanging shirts in the narrow closet, setting the photo on the nightstand. Her eyes meeting his as he sinks onto the bed, staring at the ceiling where water stains form. Abstract patterns like maps to uncharted paths. Sleep comes easier than expected, deep and dreamless. The kind that heals wounds you didn't know were festering. Morning light filters through thin curtains, painting stripes across the floor, and Jack rises with a clarity he hasn't felt in decades. Dressing in his best shirt, the one that makes him stand tall. And he calls a cab from the room phone, the receiver cool against his ear. First National Bank on Main Street, please. The ride through waking Austin passes in a blur. Coffee shops opening their doors. Joggers pounding the pavement along the river. The city alive with purpose. And at the bank, the marble floors echo his footsteps as he approaches the teller. A kind-faced woman with wire-rimmed glasses. I need to revoke access to my accounts for certain users. My daughter Mia and her husband Ethan. Her eyebrows lift slightly, but she nods professionally, processing the forms with efficient clicks on her keyboard. Each signature Jack makes feeling like a chain breaking, link by link. As he leaves the bank, the sun high and bright, warming his face. His phone buzzes in his pocket, Mia's name flashing on the screen, and he answers calmly, "What did you do?" Her voice shrieks through the line. "My card was declined at the boutique." How embarrassing, everyone's staring. "Hello to you too, Mia," he replies, his tone even as the cab weaves through traffic. The driver's eyes flicking to the mirror, but saying nothing. "This isn't funny. Dad, we have expenses, plans. You can't just cut us off like this." The irony stings. "Doesn't it?" he says softly, remembering the times he'd handed over cash without question. The car repairs, the spa days. All tallied in his mind like forgotten debts. The call ends with her pleas turning to anger. But Jack pockets the phone, watching the hills roll by. A quiet satisfaction settling in his chest like the first sip of good coffee. Back at the motel, the door clicks open to his temporary haven. But before he can settle, a shadow falls across the window, Ethan pacing outside. His truck parked crooked in the lot. Engine still ticking as it cools. Jack steps out, facing him under the midday sun. "What have you done?" Ethan growls, stepping close. His fists clenched. "The vacation tickets canceled, our cards frozen. You think you can play games with us? I think I can decide how my money is spent." Jack says, his voice steady. No tremor despite the adrenaline surging. Ethan lunges, grabbing for his collar. But a passerby, an older man walking his dog, intervenes with a sharp "Hey, back off," and Ethan retreats, sputtering threats as he speeds away, gravel flying. The encounter leaves Jack shaken but empowered, closing the door behind him, sinking into the chair by the window, where the light plays across his hands that had given so much, now ready to take back control. That afternoon, he dials his lawyer's number, the line connecting with a crisp "Hello, I need to rewrite my will." He says, "Everything to charity, specifically for seniors abandoned by their families." The words flowing easy now, each one a step toward justice. The meeting is set, and as the day fades, Jack lies back, the ceiling maps shifting in the twilight, plotting his next moves with a precision born from years of quiet endurance. The revenge is just beginning, a slow burn that will light up the night, the days that follow blur into a quiet rhythm inside room 8 of that little motel on the outskirts of Austin, the kind of place where the ice machine clanks every hour and the highway hums like a lullaby through the thin walls. Jack wakes each morning to the same slanted light cutting across the floral comforter, but now it feels less like exile and more like a pause before the next chapter. He showers slow, letting the hot water wash away the last traces of hesitation, dresses and pressed shirts he hasn't worn in years, and sits at the Small desk with a cup of motel. Coffee that somehow tastes better than the expensive beans back at the house. His phone keeps lighting up with missed calls, voicemails, stacking like unread bills. Mia's voice cracking between fury and tears. Ethan's low threats promising consequences, but Jack lets them pile up untouched. The silence on his end louder than any argument. By the third morning, he's ready for the next step. He calls a cab again. The same driver from before recognizing him with a nod and a quiet good morning. Sir, and they head downtown where the streets are, already alive with food trucks and runners. Along the river trail, the law office sits in one of those restored brick buildings near the Capitol, wooden floors creaking under his shoes as the receptionist leads him past framed photos of old Austin landmarks. The lawyer, a woman named Carla Ramirez with sharp eyes and a calm voice that puts him at ease right away, listens without interrupting while Jack lays it all out. The house he signed over, the accounts he's carried for years, the birthday that ended with a suitcase on the sidewalk. When he finishes, she leans back, tapping her pen once against the legal pad, and says, Mr. Harlan, you have every right to redirect your estate however you see fit. No one can force you to leave a dime to anyone. Those words settle over him like cool shade on a 100-degree day. Simple, undeniable. They spend the next hour mapping it out. Jack wants the bulk of his assets, savings, investments, the proceeds from whatever comes next to fund a foundation for elderly folks who've been pushed aside by their own families. Housing assistance, medical grants, companionship programs, the kinds of things he suddenly understands from the inside out. Carla drafts the new, will clean and tight, revocable trust language that protects everything while he's still breathing. Irrevocable clauses that kick in afterward. He signs where she points, the pen scratching steady across the paper, each stroke lighter than the last, as if years of weight are lifting off his shoulders one signature at a time. When it's done, she slides the copies into a manila envelope and shakes his hand firm. You're doing something brave here, Mr. Harlan. Not everyone finds the strength. He walks out into the bright midday sun feeling taller, the envelope tucked under his arm like a ticket to somewhere new. That same afternoon, he meets his oldest friend, Tom, at their usual coffee spot on South Congress, the one with the big front windows and mismatched chairs. Tom's already there, silver hair catching the light, worry etched around his eyes. From the night of the birthday dinner when he'd watched Jack force smiles while Mia and Ethan stayed hidden upstairs, Jack slides into the booth opposite him, orders a cappuccino he actually plans to enjoy, and tells the whole story, leaving the house, freezing the cards, the new will. Tom listens the way only a friend of 50 years can. No judgment, just quiet attention. And when Jack finishes, Tom lets out a low whistle. Damn, Jack, I always knew they were taking advantage, but I never thought they'd push you this far. He reaches across the table, grips Jack's forearm. I'm proud of you, brother. Took guts to draw that line. They sit there talking for hours, the coffee going cold, reminiscing about the old neighborhood, the wives they lost too soon, the dreams they still have left. By the time they part ways, the sun is dipping low, painting the street orange and pink, and Jack feels something close to peace settling in his chest. Back at the motel that evening, he finally opens the airline app on his phone. There it is, the Hawaii trip he'd booked 6 months ago as a surprise for all three of them. First-class seats, oceanfront resort on Maui, the works, $12,000 charged without blinking, because he thought shared sunsets might fix what words couldn't. He stares at the confirmation for a long moment, thumb hovering, remembering Mia's excited texts when he first mentioned a big vacation, the way Ethan had clapped him on the back like they were all still a team. Then he taps cancel reservation, watches the loading wheel spin, and when the screen confirms full refund pending, he exhales slow, the sound almost like laughter. One by one he cancels the extras, rental car, excursion packages, the luau dinner, each tap a small, satisfying click in the quiet room. The money will route back to his account within days, free and clear, no longer earmarked for people who called him a burden. His phone buzzes again on the nightstand. Mia this time, and something makes him answer. The line crackles with her breathing before words come rushing out. Dad, the Hawaii trip just got canceled. Do you have any idea how much we were counting on that break? We've already told friends, taken time off work. Jack sits on the edge of the bed, the motel lamp casting soft light across the envelope from Carla's office. And his voice comes out calm, almost gentle. I canceled it. Mia, the trip was paid for with my money. For a family that doesn't seem to want me around. Silence stretches long enough, he can hear traffic passing outside her window. Then her voice cracks. This is insane. You're punishing us for one bad night. One bad night, he repeats, soft. Thinking of all the nights he ate alone while they scrolled phones at the dinner table. All the checks he wrote without thanks. The birthday. He spent grilling steaks for friends while his own daughter hid upstairs. No, sweetheart, this isn't punishment, it's consequences. You told me I was a burden, asked me to leave my own house. I'm simply believing you. He ends the call before she can rally another argument. Powers the phone off completely. And for the first time in weeks the room feels perfectly still. The next morning brings a new kind of energy. Jack dresses carefully, drives himself downtown in the old truck he'd kept registered in his name alone, and meets with a realtor named Sarah who specializes in quiet hill country properties. She listens to what he wants, something smaller, one level, big windows, space for a garden maybe, and her eyes light up like she understands. This isn't just a house hunt, it's a fresh start. They spend the day touring 3 places. The last one a modest ranch-style home on a couple of acres just west of the city. Live oaks shading the driveway. A wide back porch looking out over rolling green hills that turn gold at sunset. Inside it's bright. Updated kitchen, hardwood floors. Empty rooms waiting for someone to make them mean something again. Jack stands in the master bedroom. Sunlight pouring through French doors. And feels it in his gut. This is it. He makes an offer on the spot. Cash from investments he's about to liquidate. No financing needed, quick close. Sarah grins wide. I'll get the paperwork started today. Mr. Harlan, welcome home. By the time he leaves the sun is low, painting the hills the color of mesquite smoke. And Jack drives with the windows down. Warm wind whipping through the cab. Classic country station playing low. For the first time in longer than he can remember he sings along. Voice rough, but steady. The lyrics about open roads and second chances feeling written just for him. The motel sign comes into view, still buzzing vacancy. But now it looks temporary in the best way. A roadside chapel on the way to somewhere better. He parks, steps out into the cooling evening, and stands there a moment breathing deep. The scent of cedar and distant barbecue on the breeze. Inside room 8, he packs the few things he's accumulated. Folds the new wool copies carefully into his briefcase. Sets the framed photo of his wife on top, like a promise kept. Tomorrow the real moves begin. Closing accounts they thought were shared forever. Transferring funds. Signing papers that redraw every boundary they crossed. The revenge isn't loud or cruel. It's quiet, methodical, the kind that leaves no room for argument. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Jack knows the best part is still coming. The day Mia and Ethan realize the safety net they tore apart isn't coming back. While he's already walking steady on brand new ground. The night settles soft around the motel. Crickets starting their chorus. And Jack sleeps deep, dreaming of wide porches. And sunrise over his own hills. The weeks start to slip by like pages turning in a book. Jack never knew he was ready to read. Each one bringing him closer to a life that finally feels like his own. The offer on the Hill Country Ranch gets accepted fast. Cash deal, no contingencies. And Sarah, the realtor, calls him one morning while he's sipping coffee on the motel's little concrete patio, watching the sunrise bleed pink and gold across the sky. Congratulations, Mr. Harlan, she says, her voice bright with genuine excitement. We close in 12 days. 12 days. He repeats it out loud after hanging up, tasting the words, feeling them settle warm in his chest like good bourbon. He spends those days tying up every loose thread with a calm precision that surprises even him. Mornings at the bank, transferring balances, closing joint lines of credit he'd forgotten even existed. Watching the teller's eyes widen, just a little when the numbers flash across her screen. Afternoons with Carla the lawyer, signing addendums. Setting up the charitable trust with a name he chooses carefully. The Grace Harlan Foundation. After his wife, who always believed people deserved second chances. Evenings walking the trails around Lady Bird Lake. The water glittering under the city lights. Bats swirling out from under the Congress Avenue Bridge like dark confetti, reminding him the world is still full of small, free wonders. Mia and Ethan keep trying to reach him, of course. Texts that start angry, turn pleading, circle back to angry again. Voicemails he finally listens to one rainy afternoon just to hear how far they'll go. Mia's voice shaky, saying they're behind on the mortgage now. That friends are asking why the Hawaii pictures never showed up on social media. That she's embarrassed at work because her company card linked to his account got declined during a client lunch. Ethan's messages are darker, promising to contest the will, threatening to tell everyone Jack's gone senile, that he's punishing them for setting boundaries. Jack sits on the edge of the motel bed, rain tapping steady against the window, and feels nothing but a tired kind of pity. Boundaries, he thinks, shaking his head slow. They drew the line the night they told a 70-year-old man to pack his bags on his own birthday. The closing day arrives crisp and cool, early fall air carrying the scent of cedar and possibility as Jack drives out west. With Sarah in the passenger seat of his truck, paperwork stacked neatly on the console between them. The house looks even better in morning light. Live oaks framing the driveway like silent guardians. The porch swings swaying gently in the breeze. Inside, the cellars have left it spotless. Sunlight pouring across empty hardwood floors that echo under his boots. He signs where the title agent points. Initials here, full signature there. And when the final page is done, the agent smiles wide. Congratulations, Mr. Harlan. The house is yours. Sarah hands him the keys on a simple brass ring. No fanfare. Just the soft clink of metal that sounds like freedom. He spends the first night alone in the new house. No furniture, yet except an air mattress and a folding chair on the back porch. He grills a single steak on the built-in outdoor pit, the smoke curling lazy into the twilight, and eats it straight from the cast iron with a cold beer. Watching the hills turn purple and gold as the sun drops. Crickets start their chorus. An owl calls somewhere distant. And Jack leans back in the chair, boots propped on the railing, feeling the quiet wrap around him like a blanket he's waited decades to pull on. Word travels fast in family circles, of course. By the end of that first week, Tom and a couple other old friends show up with a pickup full of borrowed furniture. A couch, a kitchen table, a real bed frame, laughing and sweating as they haul it all inside. Refusing Jack's offers to pay for pizza until the work is done. They crack beers on the porch that night, the sky exploding with stars you can't see inside the city limits. And Tom raises his bottle. To new beginnings, brother. And to people who finally learn what they're worth. Jack clinks his bottle against the others. Throat tight, eyes stinging just a little in the dark. Mia shows up unannounced one Saturday morning, pulling into the gravel driveway in the SUV he'd helped them buy 2 years ago. Jack's out front, planting native grasses along the walkway. Dirt under his nails, sweat cooling on his back in the shade. She steps out slow, sunglasses hiding her eyes, looking smaller somehow in the wide open space. Dad, she starts, voice cracking on the second syllable. Can we talk? He straightens, wipes his hands on an old rag, and nods toward the porch chairs. They sit with the morning sun warming the boards under their feet, birds flitting between the oaks, and she launches in. Apologies tumbling over excuses, saying they never meant to hurt him, that money's tight now, that Ethan's stressed at work, that they miss him. Jack listens quiet, letting her talk until the words run dry. Then he speaks soft but steady. I miss the daughter I thought I had. Mia, the one who'd never call her father a burden and mean it. But that girl's been gone a while, and I'm done chasing ghosts. She starts to cry then, real tears tracking down her cheeks, saying they're talking about selling the old house to cover debts. That friends are asking questions, that she doesn't know how to fix this. Jack feels the old pull, the instinct to reach for his checkbook and make the pain go away. But he breathes through it slow, lets it pass like a cramp. The fix isn't mine to give anymore, he says. You and Ethan built this life on my generosity. Now you get to build the next part on your own. She sits there a long time after that, staring out at the hills, until finally she stands, hugs him awkward and quick, and drives away without another word. Jack watches the dust settle behind her tires, then goes back to planting, pressing each clump of grass into the earth like small promises to himself. Fall deepens into proper cool nights, the kind where you need a light jacket and the stars feel close enough to touch. Jack fills the house slowly, deliberately. A leather armchair from an estate sale. Bookshelves he builds himself one weekend. A new grill that's all his. He starts volunteering at the senior center downtown. driving folks to appointments, teaching basic computer classes, hearing stories that echo his own in different accents and faces. He takes a photography class at the community college, spends mornings hiking the greenbelt with a camera slung over his shoulder, capturing light on water, deer in the mist, the slow beauty he never had time to notice before. One evening, Tom invites him downtown for live music on 6th Street, and Jack says yes without checking anyone else's schedule first. They stand shoulder to shoulder in a crowded bar, cold beers in hand, listening to a young band pour their hearts into steel guitars and heartbreak lyrics. And Jack feels the rhythm in his bones, alive in a way he hasn't in years. Later, walking back to the truck under buzzing neon, Tom nudges him, "You're glowing, man. Like you dropped 20 years somewhere along the way." Jack laughs, breath fogging in the cool air. "Maybe I did." Winter creeps in gentle that year, holiday lights twinkling along the river, and Jack hosts his first Thanksgiving in the new house. Just 6 old friends around a table, he said himself, turkey smoked on the pit, laughter echoing off empty walls that don't feel empty at all. No one hides upstairs. No one checks their phone every 5 minutes. Just stories and second helpings and the easy quiet of people who choose to be together. Mia texts on Christmas Eve, a simple photo of their tree with a short message, "Thinking of you." Jack stares at it a long time, thumb hovering, then types back, "Take care, sweetheart," and hits send. It's not forgiveness. Not yet, maybe not ever. But it's peace enough for now. Spring arrives with bluebonnets carpeting the hills like spilled paint. And Jack stands on his porch one morning, coffee steaming in his hand, watching the sun climb slow over land that belongs to him alone. The house is filled now. Photos on the walls, books on the shelves, the smell of bacon drifting from the kitchen where he's cooking for one and loving it. His phone sits silent on the counter, no emergencies to fix, no demands to meet. Out past the oaks, a roadrunner darts across the driveway, pauses to look at him with bright, curious eyes, then vanishes into the brush. Jack takes a slow sip of coffee, feels the warm mug against his palms, and smiles quiet into the morning light. The revenge turned out simpler than he expected. Not fireworks or shouting matches, just the steady, everyday act of choosing himself first, building a life where no one gets to call him a burden ever again. And on mornings like this, with the whole wide day stretching open in front of him, that feels like the sweetest victory of all. The years begin to roll by gentle and unhurried, the way good Texas seasons do, each one leaving its mark on the hill country ranch like rings in the trunk of those old live oaks out front. Jack wakes most mornings to the same soft light spilling through the bedroom windows, the hills turning from green to gold to bare and back again. And every time he steps onto the porch with coffee in hand, he feels that quiet gratitude settle deeper, like roots finding purchase in good soil. He fills the house slow and deliberate, never rushing to crowd the space. A sturdy oak dining table he finds at an estate sale down in Fredericksburg, big enough for friends, but perfect for one. Framed photos line the hallway now, his wife, Grace laughing on a beach from 40 years ago, Tom and the guys raising beers on that first porch night, new ones from hikes along the greenbelt, where light filters through cedar branches like stained glass. He builds bookshelves himself, hands steady with practice, stocking them with novels he finally has time to read, history books about places he's starting to visit, field guides for birds that visit the feeder he hung off the back deck. The kitchen becomes his quiet kingdom. Cast iron skillets, seasoned dark and shiny, herbs growing in pots along the windowsill, the smell of slow-cooked chili or fresh cornbread drifting through the rooms on lazy Sundays. Friends come and go easy now, no invitations ignored, no tension humming under the surface. Tom every couple weeks for cards or to watch a Longhorns game on the big screen. Jack finally bought for himself the widows from the senior center for potluck, dinners where laughter runs long into the evening, new neighbors down the road, younger families who wave when they pass and sometimes drop by with extra peaches from their trees or an invite to a backyard barbecue. Jack hosts his own gatherings too. Thanksgiving with 20 chairs, squeezed around borrowed tables. 4th of July with fireworks sparkling over the hills, quiet Christmas. Eves with a fire crackling and old records spinning on the turntable he restored. The house fills with voices and music and the clink of glasses. But when everyone leaves, the silence feels warm, chosen, never lonely. He travels now, not extravagant, just steady and curious. A road trip up to Colorado one fall to see the aspens turn gold. Fly fishing in Montana with Tom the next summer. A slow train journey through the Canadian Rockies, where the mountains rise straight out of lakes like something out of a painting. He spends a month in Italy one spring, wandering Rome's cobblestone streets, eating pasta in tiny trattorias, sitting in sunlit piazzas sketching fountains with the camera club friends he made back home. Every trip, he sends postcards to the senior center kids learning geography, little notes about gelato flavors or how the light hits the Mediterranean at sunset. He comes home lighter each time. Suitcase full of small souvenirs, a hand-thrown coffee mug, a wool scarf. Photographs he prints and frames to remind himself. The world is wide and still welcoming. The Grace Harlan Foundation grows quiet, but steady too. Carla sends updates every quarter. How many seniors got help with rent that month? Medical bills covered, companionship visits funded. Jack reads them on the porch at dusk. Fireflies starting to blink in the grass. And feels something bigger than revenge settle in his chest. It isn't about punishing Mia and Ethan anymore. It never really was past the first sharp months. It's about turning pain into something useful, making sure no one else eats dinner alone because their own kids decided they were done carrying the weight. He hears about Mia and Ethan only in passing now, the way you hear about distant weather. They sold the old house at a loss after the market dipped, moved into a smaller rental closer to Ethan's job downtown. Word is money stays tight, arguments louder. Friends drifting as the shiny life they posted online fades to something more ordinary. Mia got a promotion eventually, working longer hours to cover what used to come easy. Ethan switched jobs twice, chasing something that sticks. Once or twice a year a text comes. Through on Jack's birthday or Grace's anniversary, short, careful messages, thinking of you. Hope you're well. He always replies the same. Take care, both of you, and means it. The anger burned out long ago, leaving only the clear-eyed, understanding that some bridges burn, because they were built on rotten wood to begin with. One crisp January morning, exactly 5 years after the night he walked out with that single suitcase, Jack stands at the kitchen window watching frost sparkle on the grass. 75 now, hair gone fully silver, but his back still straight, hands still sure. The coffee percolates behind him, filling the house with its rich, familiar smell. He's got plans today, a drive into Austin for the photography club exhibit where 3 of his prints are hanging. Dinner after with Tom and a couple others to celebrate. Tomorrow maybe he'll start sketching out the greenhouse he's been dreaming about. For the back corner of the yard, the phone buzzes on the counter, an unknown number, and something makes him answer. A young woman's voice, hesitant, asks if he's Mr. Jack Harlan. Says she's calling from the foundation, that one of the residents they helped wanted to thank him personally. An older man comes on the line, voice rough with age and emotion, telling Jack how the grant money kept him from sleeping in his car after his daughter cut him off, how the visits from volunteers gave him someone to talk to again. I just wanted you to know, the man says. You gave me back my dignity when I thought it was gone forever. Jack stands there listening, throat tight, watching a pair of cardinals flit between the oaks. And when the call ends, he doesn't speak for a long moment, just breathes deep and steady. Later that afternoon, he hangs his coat by the door, steps out onto the porch where the winter sun sits low and golden over his hills. The air carries the faint smoke of someone's fireplace down the road, the distant low of cattle, the quiet that only comes when you've earned it. Jack leans against the railing, hands in his pockets, feeling the solid wood under his palms, the land stretching wide and open in front of him. He thinks about that birthday 5 years ago, the suitcase wheels rumbling down a dark sidewalk, the sting of being called a burden in his own home. Then he looks at the house behind him, warm light glowing in the windows. The life he built one deliberate choice at a time. A slow smile spreads across his face, small but real, the kind that starts in the eyes and settles everywhere else. The evening settles soft around the ranch, stars beginning to prick the deepening sky, and Jack stays out there a long time, just breathing it all in. The sweetest revenge, he realizes, isn't watching someone else regret what they lost. It's waking up every morning in a life you love, free of anyone who ever made you feel small. And on nights like this, with the whole quiet world wrapped around him like a promise kept, Jack knows without a doubt He won.